For the first time in your life, you're free. You're finally out of classes, there's nothing else for you to do. And you're being pressured to go down all these paths and to do all these things that your parents are telling you to do, or your grandparents, or your friends. And you feel like you're backed into a corner because you think everyone else has it figured out. But realistically, you know they don't. And that's hard to reckon with, and it's hard to battle with yourself every day and asking the question, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? Because for our entire lives, we have been living by a routine. We've woken up at the same time, we've went to bed around the same time, we've went to the same classes and the same buildings and talked to the same people every day. The same jokes, the same food, the same goals. It's all been set for you, pre-built. And now for the first time in your life, you are not a computer. You've been set free, and that is not an easy thing to be in this world. This video really isn't going to be about me telling you what I think you should do, because I'm not going to lie, I don't have all the answers. But I graduated 2 days ago, and I want to talk about it. And I just feel like there's a lot of emotional pressure there that not a lot of people talk about. So number one, you probably feel backed in a corner, because I know I felt backed in a corner as soon as I walked and sat back down when I grabbed my diploma. And I automatically took a deep breath and I just told myself this is not the time and the place. Now that I've given myself more time to think about it and more time to talk about things and think about stuff, I'm now realizing that high school being over is not the end, it is the beginning, okay? It is the beginning of actual freedom, the freedom that you've been promised and you've seen every day. And that's scary. That's really scary, because it's all fun and games to think, hey, I'm not going to have classes, but slowly you realize you could be going down the wrong path. You could be working at McDonald's for the next 20 years. And that's I think most people's biggest fear. And I'm not going to act like I have the answers, but I feel like I could say some things that might be able to help you out. So, number one, no one else has it figured out. You're not going to have it figured out. All those people going to college, by the way, they're not going to get everything, it's not perfect for them, okay? Even if they go to college, there's always going to be a downside to whatever path you're going. People, they go to college, they get in debt. They go to boot camp, they don't make a lot of money. They're slaves to whatever job they get. No path is going to be perfect. So I feel like choosing the right path for you is a very specific thing. There is no meta. I'm content creating. I want to do this, and I'm going and I want to do other things in my life and a career outside of this. There's really no answer. So my first tip would be to not be pressured to feel like you need to have everything figured out, but to start now, if you haven't already, looking at careers, just watching YouTube videos about stuff that maybe you're interested in, looking at things that you could do. The only thing that I would beg you to do is to not just do what everyone else is telling you to do. Don't be a carpenter because, everyone says, oh, they make a lot of money. Don't go to a store because, oh, I could grow in the company. You need to ask yourself these bigger questions. What do I want to achieve in 6 months? What do I want to achieve in a year? And that would be my next thing. You need to just sit down and just literally write out 10 things that you want to achieve in your life. And then you need to write down, what is something I could achieve this year? Okay? And it could be shallow, it could be deep. I've talked about it a lot, but if you just write out what you want to do, it opens up your mind and there's some clarity behind what you're thinking and what you want to do. So what I guess overall what I'm getting at is, don't expect to have the perfect answer. Just, carry the job that you've probably had when you're in high school, or get a job and just kind of sit there and kind of figure things out. I think a lot of people call that a gap year or a break, but honestly that's dumb, because I don't know, man, do you really expect me or someone to just get right out of 14 years of being a computer and then just be okay, now go find a path? That's so pressuring and stupid. And if your family and people around you are pressuring to do that, it's gotten to the point for me, if someone brings it up to me, I literally tell them, I have a job, I'm taking care of myself. Why am I not allowed to sit here and, process my options? If you're being a bum and you're not doing anything with your life, you're going down the wrong path, obviously. But if you're sitting there and actually considering your options, you're doing the right things, you have a job, you're taking care of yourself, you're not just, bumming about and kind of thinking about it, then you are setting yourself up for success. Because trust me, you may think it's not common. There are people right now who just walked off stage and they just do not care. They don't know what they're going to do. I've seen it 100 times over. You go to places, you ask people how long they've worked there. How long have you worked here? 10 years. When did you graduate? 5 years ago. So they started freaking working here in middle school, and then they literally graduated and just stayed here. That place was a Roosters, if you know what that is. That's a restaurant. And that's what I mean. Like, you just got to be careful. Don't expect to have it all figured out, because if you set yourself up in this way where you feel like you have to have the answer now, you're bound to fail. I just really think in general, when people say gap year, that they either have a wrong image in their head, or everyone associates it with like this bumminess. And I feel like I really want to like get that out of people's heads. Like, if you're a gap year as in like you're being a bum, yeah, you're being a bum, then, no job, no car, you're not doing anything, you have no plans, you're not looking, nothing, then you are not going to achieve anything, right? Like, that is the stereotype. And if you're fitting that, then you need to like stop now, because you're about to screw yourself over big time in life. But I feel like with a gap year in general, I don't even like calling it that at this point. It's a sensible break, because again, you just spent 14 years in a system, and now it's time to get out of that system, right? Get a consistent sleeping routine, get yourself together. People are sitting here and dedicating to colleges before they even know what they want to major in. I think that's crazy. Like, if you're going to a college and you don't even know what you want to major in, then like, why are you going? You're actually just going to hand them money before you even know what they're giving you. You know what I mean? It's like a blind box. Like, you don't know what you're going to get because you're not deciding. You haven't chosen yet. And, that's a big issue. It's the same thing with people who go to boot camp. I see all these dudes, they're signing up. Like, you can wait for an MOS to open up that you want. You didn't have to take with that. Like, you just picked the first thing. It's like, dude, just stay here for another month and wait for another position to open. I promise you it will. It's not that hard. It's just like people are so impatient and they feel like they need to get the answer now. And that's how you get people who go to places and go to businesses and they do these jobs and these things that they don't want to do. And then 10 years later, that's the guy that you went to school with, or that's the guy that you got your first job at and he was 30 and worked at a freaking McDonald's, and you're sitting there like, wow, I hope I'm not that one day. That's because that guy just didn't know what to do. He was overwhelmed and people didn't help him out. And then on top of that, maybe he made his own choices, but I don't want that for you. I don't think anyone wants that for anyone else. I feel like the best course of action is to really just make sure, hey, am I getting bills paid? Am I getting my car paid for? Do I have a life? Am I taking good care of myself? And from that point, give yourself 6 months to a year and write down, hey, what are some things I want to achieve outside of that? Outside of even a career. I really don't like it when people put their entire lives around their career, because it's just not fulfilling and it's dangerous for your mental health. And figure out what you want to do. And maybe that is go to college. Maybe that is join the military. Maybe that is freaking staying at McDonald's. Like, seriously, if you want to genuinely do that, then I'm all power to you. I just hate to hear stories of, I wanted to be a Marine, but I turned out to be a, employee at a Wendy's. I wanted to be a manager of a store, but instead I hopped stores because this one made more money and my family directed this. There's something my grandpa tells me all the time, and he says, you are not a product of your teacher. You're not a product of your mom, your dad, me, or your grandma. You're a product of yourself. And, I feel like that is such a good statement to live by, because I've never realized what he meant until now. You can't let other people control your life, because you're going to end up unhappy because they are not you. You have to be a product of your own beliefs and your own mind. And the way that you act, that is the way that you are. If you spend your entire life doing what the school system taught you to do, which is listen and do what they want to do and learn what they want you to learn, you're going to spend your entire life being a slave to something that you never even cared about. If you're going to work at something, at least, please God, make sure it's something you want to do. And I hate it when I hear these people, again, taking a gap year is the lazy thing to do. It's not. I'm actually figuring out what I want to do with my life. This is an important thing to do. You know what I mean? This is more important than just deciding on what college I want to go to. If you have it all figured out in high school, which I promise you, even if you feel like you do, you're going to have your issues with that. I'm already seeing that, and we're on day 3 of walking the stage, Like, day 3 away from graduating, I'm already seeing people, like, second guess themselves online and in person. You're not going to have it all figured out. Just get a plan. Go figure yourself out. If you're not lazy, if you don't have anything going for you, then you're fine. If you're not that, and you're decent off, okay, you're taking somewhat of care of yourself, you're not just being a lazy chud, then you're fine. Anyways, that's all for today. I hope that this helped. I guess this is just a rant. I don't really know what else to say. Try and give me feedback on what I could do differently in these videos. I'm getting more into posting. I definitely want to post like 2 or 3 times a week. So yeah, like, sub, help the channel out. Bye.